Hi everybody, welcome out to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yee, and today I'm taking a look at Fuse Countdown. This is a sequel to the original Fuse, a cooperative, real-time dice-chucking game where you're trying to disarm a bunch of bombs that have been planted on your spaceship. This game plays in 10 minutes, real time, and you have to get rid of all the bombs. I'm going to try to review this in under 10 minutes, so let me show you how it plays. Then I'll give you my thoughts on this sequel, this slightly reworked edition of Fuse. Here's Fuse Countdown setup on the table. In this game, players are bomb defusal experts, and every one of these cards out here represents a bomb. Each player is working on 2 bombs in front of them. They also have a card that shows a special ability that they have. This is different from the original Fuse. Now, if you are trying to play the normal mode, what you're trying to do is you're trying to defuse these bombs. As you do so, you will then set it to the side, and you'll grab a new replacement bomb that you can work on from the middle, and then you'll flip over a new one to fill into the middle there. So the idea of the game is that you want to try to get rid of this deck of cards and get rid of all these cards from the middle. You can end the game with having these cards in front of you, and that's still fine. So how do you defuse these bombs? Well, you reach into the Fuse Countdown bag that has all these different colored dice in here, and you'll notice that these spots have different requirements. So you might pull out some dice, roll them, and as in a cooperative manner, the 3 players at the table now have to try to assign a die to each of them. So maybe this player over here wants to start with a red die. That's what this symbol means here. They have to place a red die into this spot first before any of the other spots on this card. And this red outline here means that they have to finish this one last. This one requires them to build a stack of cubes, starting with a yellow on the bottom, then a green, then a red on top. So obviously with blue, blue, red, they can't do that. Some of these spots over here require specific numbers or colors or something to that fashion. So players, in real time with 10 minutes on the line, timer starts, and they have to discuss and say, let's assign these dice out. This player says, I would love to do this one and place this right here. This player says, well, I can take a blue one, I'll put this over here, and the other player takes this die. As soon as they are done, the person who rolled the dice passes the bag to the next person. They will reach in, grab 3 dice, and once again, roll them and assign them out to players. Well, fantastic. This player can now start working on this stack here. So they'll say, I'll take any of those yellow. That's great. This person says, I want to take one of these split colored dice because this one over here needs a split color die. This player says, I'd rather take the 4, and then this one is able to take any number. You continue doing this until you have all of the dice that you need to complete a card. So if this player was able to do this, and then on a future turn, let's say they took this black or green die, I did that wrong. This black or green die can count as green, and then this red one can go over here. So once this is finished, these dice will get tossed back in the bag, this bomb is completed, and they grab a new card, and they continue, and there is no stopping. You have 10 minutes to get through all of this. But what happens if there's a die that nobody can take for some reason? If this player is left with this die that they can no longer place onto any of their spots, they have to take a spark card, which is another card that they'll have to finish before they can consider to have won the game. This one requires a red and a black die, or they'll require split dice, or specific colors, or different numbers on there. So no one can have a spark card out. And of course, every player has their own special abilities, so if you're the one with the bag, after rolling, you may flip any of the dice to the opposite side. Maybe that'll help get out of a situation to avoid these spark cards. There are several of these rolls in the game that all offer different benefits. Now, if you want to play a more challenging mode, according to this chart here, based on player count, you can add more bomb cards into the total. You can play on hard mode, where not only do you have to clear the deck and this lineup, but you also have to complete every last remaining bomb in front of every player. You can throw in these cards that will trip you up, as they look just like the normal cards from here, but when they get revealed, they'll cause players to discard dice that they've already assigned onto their bombs, or cause them to take negative actions that will hurt them. And there are, just in general, a lot of different bombs here. The higher the number printed on there, the more difficult the task it is. So you don't want to get stuck with too many of those. So lots of ways that you can adjust the difficulty in Fuse Countdown. Renegade Games was on fire back in 2015 when this game originally came out, and Kane Klenko has proved himself to be a wonderful designer of real-time games, and he's also been known now for a lot of other games as well. Even back then he was as well. But real time has kind of been one of his staples. So it's fun to see him revisit the original game that put his name on my map at least. And so Fuse Countdown changes a few things from the original game. I'll go over those very, very briefly. So instead, in the original game, if you were not able to place a die onto a card that round from the dice draft, then you had to roll that die and get rid of a die that you had placed previously, of the same number or of the same color. This one instead introduces those spark cards that you saw in the overview, where a spark card, you have to draw one, and then that's 2 or more future dice placements you have to do in order to be able to win the game. You can't have any sparks around you. I think that little change is nice. Some of the iconography has changed for the better. There's one icon I don't really love, which is the icon that says you cannot place a die of this color on this card. I think it's too small. But other than that, I think that some of the little changes are nicer, where the spaces are different colors, for example, where you have to stack up and make a little obelisk or the pyramids and things. I think that overall, just the usability of this one is a little bit better than the original. But it's similar enough that you can fold these together. They say it's a combinable expand-alone expansion, standalone game, or mix it with the original one. I think that the game has always really spoken to me. I've loved Fuse. I love Escape the Curse of the Temple. I love real-time games that say, here's your time, do everything you can within it. And you don't get to breathe until you either win or lose the game. And I've almost never played this game just once in a row. And it's the same, that's true with Countdown, and that's true with the original Fuse as well. And so chucking those dice, sitting there working with your group, and trying to figure out how everyone can take a die every turn, even if it's not the most optimal thing, because no one wants to get stuck with a die they can't place. I will say that grabbing a spark card in this game is a nicer gesture, because no one likes when the forward progress, the momentum they've been gaining, is then forced to be lost, and sometimes crushingly so in the original game where you had to remove dice from cards you've been working on. This one, introducing more cards that you have to complete, is functionally the same, and some might argue even worse, because that's 2 dice that you have to make up for now instead of 1. But the fact is that it gives you more flexibility for future dice placements that you can take in the future. So that is actually a kinder way of punishing you more, mathematically speaking. So I like that. I really enjoy that it kind of evens out. I like the little changes in here and the split dice, the fact that some of the dice are green or black. That's a nice touch. That's fun. That's a little added flexibility. And then the player powers are also new in this set. And I do like those, but I actually teach the game to people without the player powers, because it's just one more thing to think about. Whenever you play this game for the first time, players are always taking too long, saying, I'd like that green if possible, but also I could take a 4, and you have to get to the point where you're like, no. Place the die in front of you. Can you take it, right? Okay, is everyone good? Oh, everyone's happy? Go! Next! And I love that tension, that excitement passing around the bag. I think the game does a few visceral things really well where you have to pass around the bag, to mark the end of everyone's taking a die. We're all good, go. And that excitement about the end of the game once you're able to clear it all. The game also scales for difficulty incredibly well. So if it's harder for you at just 2 players or harder at 4 or 5 players, then you can reduce the number of cards that you need. Or if you're getting really good at it, throw in more of those challenge cards, or have to get rid of every card, not just the ones from the middle, leaving the ones in front of you. I think that Fuse Countdown is a nice change up to an original game that I love, so highly recommending. I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. A fantastic, super fun cooperative game that you should check out if you've never played it. That's Fuse. Hope I didn't blow up in the 10 minutes. Until next time, folks, thanks for coming out to another Dice Tower review. Have a great day.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Bassel.